Going to. We're limiting public testimony.
You got to talk Henry out of the report too.
I tried.
Good evening. Welcome to the March 25th, 2019 meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit Board of Directors. Would the clerk please call the roll quickly?
Director Budge. Here. Director Hanson. Here. Director Harris. Director Howell.
Here.
Director Hume. Here. Director Jennings.
Here.
Director Miller.
Here.
Director Natoli. Here. Director Chenier will be late. Director Cerna. Here. Chair Kennedy.
Here.
With that, we have a quorum at 100 votes. This meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel. Tonight's meeting will air on March 27th and replayed on March 28th at 6 p.m. and will be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. It is also closed caption. Yeah. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker card located at the rear of the room and provide it to me or Adam. Please speak into the microphone and state your name for the record. We would appreciate everyone turning off their cell phones. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, if you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk.
With that, we have the consent calendar, items 1 through 9.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Hanson, second by Director Howell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Next item.
Motion carries by 100 votes. The next item is public addresses the board on matters not on the agenda.
Mike Barnbaum, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. The San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority met on Friday in Stockton. Highlights included the approval of the business plan for FY 1920 and 2021, a discussion of the Parada law also known as SB 804 from 1999, which limits the ability to exclusively use a bus to do a one-way or a round trip on the Amtrak system. A train must be involved. So there was some discussion on that, on how to amend the law going forward and get to a happy medium for both sides of the aisle on that bill from 20 years ago. And staff presented a full discussion about the schedule change that's coming up. The schedule change is going to be a pulse schedule. Trains will operate once every 2 hours to Bakersfield, and from Bakersfield there will be one gap on the northbound service from 8:12 in the morning to 12:12 in the afternoon. But this schedule change, effective Monday, May 6th, will eliminate the Sacramento Morning Express, which will turn out to be a one-year service, and it did not fare very well in terms of ridership and revenue. Staff also discussed some measures to improve cafe car service, and that will be an ongoing discussion. One of the things the board did elect to do is move its May 31st meeting out of Modesto, and it will be in Sacramento. We're thinking that the meeting will be from 1 to 4 p.m. to allow members to talk to their lawmakers, and hopefully a presentation by Shasta about the Salmon Runner to debut at the end of this year, and perhaps SAC-RT Forward and its implications to the San Joaquin service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeffrey Tartagia.
Jeffrey Tartagia. Once again, Monday arrives, and the Sac Valley terminal does not work. This is the east location, and since there is only two at Sac Valley, I understand that we have a high vandalism, and we have basically almost a 2-month turnaround on devices. I'm hoping that we will figure out what can be better done to address this issue of revenue and Connect Card and other matters. I'm hoping to see some improved signage around both the arena area, and seeing with the latest construction, I will congratulate RT on finally figuring out what needed to be done at 11th Street and L, because that is seemingly much better, whether this is Steve Henson or somebody else taking the bull by the horns and saying, hey, we need to see where the signage is at, and realizing we got two construction projects that are going to rapidly be occurring on both J Street and L Street, and what impact that has. I'm hoping further that on the, shall we say, scheduling effort, that the transfer points will be also looked at. I know that it's been 20 years since you looked and see the coordination of transferring and, should we say, bus and light rail, and making sure transfer points connect. And Patrick, as I also already said to you, is this bus 12, 430, when Elk Groves becomes part of the system, please, let's see what we can do about 29th Street.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Charles Trombley.
Good evening. My name is Charles Trombley. I moved to the area from Michigan just a couple months ago. Have ridden on the regional transit stuff a couple times. I have nothing to complain about. So instead, what I noticed was I think there might be room for improvement, or at least a discussion. I work in social services. I work with homeless veterans. I help them find employment. One of the largest barriers that they have is access to reliable transportation. And so in digging around, we help them with that stuff. But I started digging around and noticed that there was nothing for reduced fare for veterans or people under the poverty guidelines, and thought, hey, why don't I show up and see if there's something that I don't know about. So I did this all my lunch hour, so I apologize if it's not good. But so the numbers I got, veterans make up about 5.5% of the Sacramento population, but account for over 13% of the homeless population here. Since the last point in time count, that number improved by 50%. So that's homeless veterans have increased by 50%. Looking at the fare structure right now, it just addresses students and seniors over 65. Awesome. That's great. I looked around other areas. There are some areas that offer reduced fares for vets in a variety of different things. Some of those are attached to service-connected disability status. Some of those are connected to just show an ID you get on for free at point of contact from the transit authority. So the closest ones are Sonoma and Monterey, and there's nothing in this area that I think has been addressed for that. So I think Sacramento has the opportunity here to set the standard for that. I think Texas, El Paso has it nailed down. They have a reduced fare monthly bus pass system that is a point of entry through a social service provider as the point of contact, submitting a letter to the transit to get that discount, and then they offer 90 days free bus passes for homeless veterans for employment. So just something to think about. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. John Perryman.
So, as I read through your agendas for the past several months, I was repeatedly struck by your RT staff reaching out to communities and groups affected by your RT projects. I'm here to encourage your staff to work with Sac City Unified School District prior to any contract with the City of Sacramento being signed regarding a homeless shelter being placed close to a school. There's no evidence that your staff or board has considered that Sac City Unified School District is legally responsible for the safety of the kids walking home. There's no evidence that you've considered Penal Code 3003 subsection G, which says you cannot house or place sex offenders within a quarter mile of a school. There's no evidence you've considered the 1,000-foot drug-free zone established by federal law around the school. And there's no evidence that your staff or board has reached out to the official administrators and school board members regarding a major social institution which will be deeply impacted by you being the landlord. The last thing you haven't considered, you're the landlord. The complaints you heard March 11th is the general fear that your tenants are going to be nuisances in the community. As I understand it, you're legally responsible for the nuisance activities of your tenants. Doesn't matter if City of Sacramento is a leasee and there's a sub-vendor and another subletter and they're letting guests stay there. That means the RT structure will be the point of contact for complaints about the nuisances from your tenants. Work with the school district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, General Manager's report.
Okay. Yes, just try to answer that gentleman's question. We are working on those questions.
There's been quite a bit of outreach to the Burbank campus as well as Sac City Unified, and I know for a fact that many individual board members have been briefed and been part of the discussion. So go ahead with the.
Okay. So good evening, Chair Kennedy, members of the board and the public. I first like to update the board on the launch of the Folsom Stage 9 service operated by SAC-RT, the Folsom service. On February 4th, SAC-RT officially started revenue service and has been operating the Folsom Stage 9. The rollout and the transition has been smooth. We had some minor hiccup in the first week, but since that, we are all good. And we are learning valuable lessons, and thanks to Director Hall and other community leaders. As you know, we formed a transition task force with the residents and the riding public to communicate and solicit feedback. So we have regular monthly this type of meeting with the community advocates to discuss any potential issues. As we continue to engage with the residents and learn more about the service, I believe we will even do better. This is also a great learning experience for us as this will help us to carefully prepare for the operations of Elk Grove transit service July 1st. At Elk Grove Council meeting on March 13th, thanks to Director Hume's leadership, the Council unanimously approved a 5-year contract with SAC-RT. We have already begun preparing for the service transition now and anticipate offering positions to all of the operators if they are, qualified for the positions. We are excited to be the operator of the service and hope it will lead to better regional collaboration and annexation in the near future. During the DC Capital Region leadership trip last week, I had a pleasure working with the SACOC chair, David Sanders, and a whole bunch of other elected officials and community leaders, and they are very encouraged by what we have been doing, and then they encourage RT to continue to pursue for the regional collaboration. Also, I'd like to introduce the next topic to introduce the board and the public to some of our new staff. As always, we prefer to develop and promote our future leaders within. First, I would like to introduce Doug Cook. Doug, can you stand up? Okay. Doug is our new Vice President of Operations. With our former COO, Mark Lonergan's leaving, we divide his function into two areas. One is the operation, one is the maintenance. Doug is managing the operations for both light rail and bus. So he can get his management team, especially the supervisors, to work together to coordinate events or manage both light rail and the bus instead of before, they separate. And in this position, Doug oversees the daily operations of both, and he has risen through the ranks of the district, starting as a bus driver a long time ago. He is already making an impact on the day-to-day operations. I also like to introduce our Vice President of Maintenance, Alva. So Alva Crisco.
In the dark.
Alva was previously our Deputy COO, and prior to that, she was the VP of Operation for VIA, right? VIA in Texas. Which city? I'm sorry.
San Antonio.
Yes. So she come from Texas to here to become our Deputy COO. Now she has the monumental task of overseeing our maintenance departments for both buses and light rails. With the aging of our light rail fleet and the future conversion to zero-emission buses, and she is preparing to purchase 20 more new light rail vehicles, and also purchase another 50 electric buses in the next one or 2 years. And some great works ahead. Also, I would like to introduce Matt Pinkerton, who sits beside me, our new Director of Legal Service / Legal Counsel. Matt served as a transactional attorney in our legal department, and also served as accountability and compliance auditor. That is the new position that was required by the FTA for many years. We will not be able to do it, and he, did a wonderful job 2 years ago. Took that position, and we gained some, great praise and compliment from FTA. And he has risen to the top candidate from 2 rounds of interviews, including a final round interview with Chair Kennedy. In his new role, he will be responsible for managing the legal department and overseeing the delivery of legal service in support of district's priorities and ensure the legal compliance. Finally, I would like to introduce SACRT's new Chief of Staff, Shirley Valentine. Shirley previously worked for San Joaquin Regional Transit and the Delta Community College District. In her role, she will help to move a number of key agency-wide initiatives forward, including other regular jobs like managing IT department and a couple other departments. So we're very excited to continue to build our remarkable team and to take this agency to great heights with bold direction. The last piece of information I want to share is, on February 25th, SACRT board approved SACRT Forward project. Staff remains very busy behind the scenes, working to be ready to a flawless implementation of the launch of the project in September. One of the key program preparations is bus stop spacing or bus stop distance adjustment. I would like to play a short video that discusses the importance of standardized bus stop and spacing. We just realized, with last 10 or 20 years, minor service adjustments, we already have about 300 inactive bus stops. And besides, we need to adjust other bus stops. So this is a very important project, but it's going to have some community feedback about this. Go ahead to play on this.
Some things are better when they're further apart. When bus stops are too close together, it slows everyone down. New York City's bus stops are some of the closest in the country, and on many routes, stops are even closer together than what our guidelines suggest. How did we get here? Mrs. McGillicuddy asked her council member for a bus stop. And who wouldn't want to give Mrs. M a bus stop? But what this means over time is that there's a bus stop on every corner, slowing down the trip for everyone. What does bus stop balancing mean for riders? Well, it typically keeps stops that are key transfer points, as well as ones with high ridership. Stop balancing prioritizes stops near healthcare facilities, schools, large employers, community centers, and other points of interest. Additionally, consolidating bus stops allows agencies to make improvements at the remaining stops, such as adding shelters and benches. People who can currently reach multiple stops won't see any difference.
But I don't want to walk any further.
I know.
But if you walk just a little bit further, it means that people like me get to our doctor's appointments faster. And then we'll all have more time to do the things that we love.
In New York City, riders will soon see bus stop balancing along express bus service routes on Staten Island. But Transit Center would like to see this strategy all over the country. Along with all-door boarding, off-board fare payment, and dedicated bus lanes, it can make a big difference for bus riders anywhere. Join the chorus of people calling for bus stop balancing.
We will be handing out those T-shirts at future meetings.
That concludes my GM report. Thank you.
Thank you, and Roberta McGlashan thanks you. Is there any comments of the board?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've been working on an issue related to the public art installed at 9th and O. There's been a lot of challenges with the maintenance of it. It actually belongs to RT. it's not that significant. And what we've learned is that to remove it and save it will cost about $70,000 or $80,000 versus removing it and deaccessioning it would cost probably about 10. Given the complaints that we're getting and the maintenance issues, I would like to request the staff deaccession those pieces and offer them to the public at sale from our public art collection. Thank you.
So I had a chance to explain this earlier to Mr. Flores, and I know that Director Hansen is in receipt of the same email that I am from a common constituent today about expressing an interest in airport service. And as the supervisor that represents the area that has the airport, I hear quite a bit from constituents on airport issues and why don't we have express bus service and why do we have to rely on yellow, and I kind of get the whole spectrum of complaints and suggestions. And while I was perusing our website today, I noticed that there's nothing there. Even if you search deep in some of the pages, there's an absence of information as it relates to what our future plans, our intents are relative to the airport, whether they be working with through the Clean Cities grant from Electrify America for the electrified bus service, or possibly working in conjunction with YOLO Transit in the future to have some connectivity providing service to SMF. I think it would be appropriate at this point in time, given the amount of interest that's being expressed, especially to my office on the subject, to think carefully about what we want to message, just in terms of an intent, a general intent to explore service, and especially as it relates to our very tangible intent to at least deploy this new bus service shortly to the airport. I think it would be helpful so that when we do get these types of emails, we can reply with a link and the public can be educated.
Yes, actually, I just want to give a little bit of update on this. And we identified a fund to buy up to 5 or 6 electric big buses for the airport service. We hope we will be able to launch the service by the end of this year. We just we would like to actually to start to purchase those vehicles, so then we know we can actually get that to be able to start the service. But since the interest is so high, we will put the information in the website, and the same thing relate to the shuttle service between Davis to downtown too. There are 12 buses, and we already made the order to purchase those 12 buses, electric buses. We plan to implement that by the end of this year too. So 2 great shuttle buses, the routes. Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Miller.
Real quick, the Capital Corridor Joint Powers Authority meeting has been canceled for April 17th, and the next one is June 19th in the BART boardroom at 11 a.m.
Mike, why didn't you tell us?
He didn't know.
Oh, we're good. We're good. We're good.
I didn't receive the notice on that, but hopefully the SJJPA report helped from Friday.
Thank you, Mike.
I wanted to get one step ahead of him.
Good luck. Is there any other questions, comments? We're adjourned.